Hello and welcome to Brain Nutrition, how to eat for optimal focus, clarity, and energy. And I am Dr. Stacy Francis. I am a chiropractic kinesiologist, a functional nutrition practitioner, and a public speaker. I'm the author of the #1 best-selling book, The Supercharge Method, Your Transformation from Fatigue to Energized, and I own specific wellness clinics. Today, we're going to cover 4 factors that affect brain health, the steps needed to reclaim optimal brain function, 2 optimal diets for brain health, and nutritional supplements that enhance memory, focus, and energy. If you have any trouble seeing the slides, you're welcome to request a PDF of the slides if that would be helpful. The 4 factors that affect brain health is inflammation, toxic burden, glucose issues, and deficiencies. And let's talk about inflammation for a minute. Inflammation can be from stress, autoimmunity, leaky gut, which means that your intestinal lining is allowing things in your GI system to seep through into your bloodstream. And it can cause food sensitivities, which is next on the list. And it can also cause autoimmunity. Dyslipidemia means that your cholesterol is too high or too low. You can have chronic infections can also cause inflammation. And the most chronic infection that causes the most inflammation that we've seen is Lyme's disease or PANDAS or other neurological problems that come after strep and Epstein-Barr and cytomegalovirus and effects from mono. And more recently, as you know, from COVID. COVID has been causing lots of inflammation in lots of bodies. The next one, toxic burden, comes from heavy metals and artificial sweeteners, perfumes, which have a proprietary blend. They don't even have to tell you what toxins are in perfume because it's under proprietary blend. Statins, glyphosate is what they spray on the crops to kill off bugs, but it also kills off the bugs in your GI system. And there's also chemicals like PFOAs, which are the phthalates and Teflon that they coat pans with to make them not sticky, but also it's not healthy for us either when it flakes off into our food. BPAs, you know BPAs because you see BPA-free plastics everywhere, but BPAs can cause problems and a toxic burden on the body, especially breast tissue. And mold. Mold is another toxic burden that can affect the health of your brain. Glucose issues can come from insulin resistance. That means when you release insulin into your bloodstream, you need that to get glucose into the cell. If you can't get glucose into the cell, then the insulin will just float around and it causes, number one, it causes fat storage. No one wants any of that, especially if we're trying to lose fat. And it also can affect the brain negatively if there's too much glucose and insulin rolling around the bloodstream. And we've even considered type 3 diabetes is what we call Alzheimer's disease because of the effect that sugar has on the brain. And we'll be talking lots about that as we move forward in this presentation. Deficiencies, low estradiol, which is an estrogen, low testosterone, low thyroid, low vitamin D, low essential fatty acids, and low magnesium all can contribute to brain issues. Just so you know, inflammation causes lots of different conditions in the body, but mostly a brain on fire. So you want to be careful of that. And it can come from a poor diet, a leaky gut, toxins, viruses, bacteria, immune deficiencies, radiation, and stress, psychological stress and physical stress. So keep that in mind that all this causes inflammation and inflammation causes all these things. So it goes back and forth. There are a lot of toxins in our environment that we need to be aware of. We need to be aware of things like new carpet smells, anything that has a scent or a smell that's not an essential, like a essential oil, something natural. they are toxin. If there's a chemical fragrance from a new carpet, from plastics, from mold, these are all toxins. You know the smell of gasoline, that's also a toxin. You just have to be really aware of your environment and try to decrease your exposure to all these things, even cleaning solutions such as ammonia and bleach. That's very harmful to the lungs, but it's also harmful to the brain. And of course, secondhand smoke, we always want to stay away from that, right? We have tests that evaluate brain health. There's tests for inflammation. HSCRP is the main inflammatory test. It's C-reactive protein. And when we do this test, we're looking for inflammation in the body. If you stub your toe the day of your test, you're going to have inflammation. So just keep that in mind. If you have high inflammatory level, just look back and make sure that you didn't stub your toe that day. Also, ferritin. Ferritin is a stored iron. It is a wonderful test to do because a lot of my patients that come in with fatigue or brain fog, they often have low ferritin or low stored iron levels, and we need to raise them. But if ferritin is too high, that is an indication of inflammation also. And homocysteine. Homocysteine is when 40% of the population cannot convert folic acid into methylated folate, which your body needs. Folic acid was put into processed food and flours and breads because when they bleached the flour, they took out all the nutrients, and they realized that kids were getting sick. They were having neural tube defects when they were born, so they put folic acid back in, but that's synthetic, and a lot of people, 40%, cannot convert it into methylated folate, and so they'll have brain issues and anxiety and OCD and other problems with their brain, and that's because it builds up something called homocysteine, and homocysteine builds up when you can't convert folic acid into methylated folate. So we look for homocysteine as a marker in the blood. TPO is thyroid peroxidase enzyme, and it's when your immune system starts attacking your thyroid. It's important to know that. And so when you do blood work and you're asking your doctor for a thyroid panel because you're like, I think I might have hypothyroidism, I have all the symptoms, you want to make sure he doesn't just do TSH and T4, but that they do the whole panel, which is quite lengthy, but we want to make sure it's complete. We always do that in our clinic. So if you need help with that, please let me know. ANA is an autoimmunity marker. We want to make sure there's no autoimmunity in the system. We're looking for lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. That's inflammation. And transglutaminase, that is a gluten sensitivity. Gluten affects the brain. If you are sensitive to gluten, take away gluten first. If you're having brain issues, take away gluten first. See if that's where your brain issues are coming from. Because a lot of my patients get so much better when they're off gluten. They can think better. They can even see better. They just feel better. It's because it decreases inflammation if they're sensitive to it, right? ApoE4 is a genetic marker that tells us your likelihood of having any dementia, Alzheimer's, or other brain issues. And we test that because you can do something about it. We never do a test and give you no hope at all. If you have these tests, there's things that we can do to make your environment safer for you so that you don't get these yucky diseases, right? So toxins, there's tests for toxins. We test for mercury and aluminum and lead, all these neurotoxins that affect the brain. And we test for sugar imbalance. You always want to do a hemoglobin A1C. It's a look back at 3 months of your glucose control. Did you have control over the last 3 months? If that hemoglobin A1C is high, you haven't. And so we need to correct for sugar imbalances, right? And we always do a fasting glucose. I'm sure your doctor always does that. But also we want to include a fasting insulin because that is sometimes the first indicator that you have a blood sugar imbalance. There's also urine tests for glucose. And of course, we want all these tests to be within range, or we want to do something about our sugar intake, right? Deficiencies. We want to make sure that we don't have any deficiencies, so we want to check them. You want to check for hormone imbalances, vitamin D, omega oils, and magnesium, because all of those contribute to your brain health. So what are the steps for optimal brain health? Let's go through those 4 columns again. So for inflammation, what are we going to do? First, we're going to identify and avoid food sensitivities. We're going to quit smoking. We're going to avoid trans fats. We're going to avoid refined sugars and avoid processed food and avoid advanced glycated, I remember what it's called. It's AGEs. I'll have to come back to that one. But that is when you heat a food to high intensity, like you char it, and that causes a fraying of your telomeres in your DNA, and it causes advanced aging of the brain, right? So it's all about brain health and decreasing inflammation. So we want to make sure that you're doing what you can to have optimal brain health. Toxins, we want to eat wild-caught fish, not farm-raised, because farm-raised fish are fed and are in polluted waters. We don't want to eat things that are in polluted waters or that have heavy metals. So you want to eat wild-caught fish. Avoid silver fillings in your teeth. Make sure if you need a replacement of a filling that they put in composite and not a silver mercury filling. You want to use natural deodorants because aluminum can affect the brain, and aluminum is an antiperspirant. So make sure when you're having using a deodorant, it's a natural deodorant. Makeup and hair products, make sure there's no phthalates or parabens, and use glass instead of plastic, and remove mold from your house, remediate mold from your house if you have that going on. If you've had any water damage, you want to suspect that. And with sugar, we're in the faster way. We know all about how to balance sugar because we're doing it on the daily, right? You're doing your macros, you're on point. If you have any sugar, it's on leg day when you really worked your body hard, and you can utilize it. You can utilize that sugar in a more optimal way. And so you're going to limit your carbohydrates for the most part. Fasting for 12 hours not only allows your food to digest, but allows your immune system to look for wayward cells that might do damage to your system. It cleans that up. And no eating 3 hours before bed lets everything digest so that you can have a really good sleep. And if you need more blood sugar balancing, we're going to talk more about supplements in a minute, but berberine has been comparable to metformin in helping balance blood sugar and making more insulin sensitive. TSM is the Supercharge Method, and that is my signature method that I help people recover from brain fog and fatigue and excess weight. And here in the Faster Way, it's very similar, but we'll talk more about that program in a little bit. So deficiencies, you want to make sure that you're correcting any deficiencies. If you need vitamin D, you take vitamin D. If you need omega oils, you take omega oils, and magnesium. Almost everyone needs magnesium. It's great for to help with anxiety, to help with sleep, to help with muscle spasms. If you have twitchy legs at night, try magnesium. It's very safe and it's very good for you. When we talk about the 2 diets that are optimal for brain health, it really is all about blood sugar. So the most restrictive gives us the quickest results, and that would be a ketogenic diet. The least restrictive gives us slower results, but still gives us results, and that would be a Mediterranean diet. The Supercharge Method, my diet, is something in between. And the Faster Way is very similar to the Supercharge Method, which is something in between and more like a Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet just means that you're going to have healthy oils. You're not going to have any of the seed oils or the vegetable oils that are really high inflammatory with omega-6 oils. They're more omega-3. That's your olive oil and your olives and your avocado. And it's a really good balanced diet full of lots of vegetables and healthy proteins like fish and chicken and things like that. And then we have the ketogenic diet. When people have brain injury from a closed head injury, such as a car accident, or they have the beginnings of dementia or Alzheimer's, then we really want to support the brain fully. We want 0 sugar, right? Very few carbs, and only in the form of really healthy vegetables. We want a lot of fats. Your brain is made of fat, and that's how it heals. We give it more fats in the form of avocado, nuts, seeds, salmon, things like that. And that is what helps heal the brain. The specific metabolism diet, also called the Supercharge Method, is 1 serving of protein, 2 servings of above the ground low glycemic vegetables every 3 to 4 hours in a 12-hour time period. And that's how we eat in the Supercharge Method. That's how I get people on the program. And then once they're on that, I transition them to the Faster Way program, because then they're looking at their macros and they're a little more used to managing their food, and they're more open to doing that. When we do this program, you're always welcome to have up to 2 fruit a day, up to 2 heavier carbs a day. And of course, we want to include healthy fats. And so you get that at every meal. Supplements. We talked briefly about supplements, but let's dive deep into the supplements that help brain health. The main vitamins, of course, are B vitamins. We talked a little bit about B9 being a methylated vitamin. All your B vitamins should be methylated, because we know that's how the body utilizes them, and we don't need it to convert in a pill form. So just take the kind that really absorbs well, which is the methylated B vitamins. And vitamin C is really important as an antioxidant. Vitamin D with vitamin K is really important for brain health and gut health and immunity. It's for so many things. It's almost like a hormone. Vitamin D is that important. And there's other nutrients. There's phosphatidylserine. There's lots of literature on phosphatidylserine helping with memory, cognitive function. It's a wonderful supplement to take for brain function. Coenzyme Q10 and glutathione, those are both antioxidants. Antioxidants help because when we're exposed to all these toxins we talked about in our environment, what it does is it those toxins cause oxidation, which causes tissue damage, brain damage, like brain cellular damage. And antioxidants will keep that from happening and kind of hold on to those cells that are bouncing back and forth and destroying our healthy tissue, and kind of contains that and keeps us safe. So antioxidants are really important. Omega oils, specifically DHA. You'll hear we talk about EPA, DHA as our omega-3 oils, and they are. EPA is really good for anti-inflammatory, where DHA is excellent for brain health and cognitive function. Cognitive function, when I say that, means thinking and reasoning and focusing, all that. MCT oil, that's coconut oil, medium chain triglycerides. And coconut oil is really good also for the brain. It's a healthy fat, right? Minerals. Magnesium, number 1 mineral. Magnesium threonate is the one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so it really helps the brain in a great way. The other magnesiums are great too, but this one actually crosses the blood-brain barrier. So if your brain needs it, we want to give it what it needs, right? Manganese is another mineral. Zinc is another mineral. These are minerals that help with brain function. Herbs, there's a lot of herbs. The curcumin specifically is an anti-inflammatory. It's one of the best anti-inflammatories we have, and it's from the herb turmeric. So from turmeric, the key ingredient is curcumin, and that is what we use for as an anti-inflammatory. Resveratrol is what you get from red wine, and that component, resveratrol, is an antioxidant. So that's good for the brain. Cinnamon, inositol, and gymnema, those are the ones that control blood sugar and help balance blood sugar. Inositol, we actually suck on it when you have like that after meal, I have to have something sweet. We just suck on that, and it takes away that need for any other kind of sweetness. Gymnema actually cuts your sugar cravings. If you don't want sugar cravings, gymnema is actually an herb that helps with that. Berberine we talked about before, similar to metformin, it helps your insulin be more sensitive. Ashwagandha is great to decrease anxiety and help balance your adrenal function. If you're really stressed out, it helps calm you down. If you need energy, it helps pick you up. It's an adaptogen, so it adapts to what your body needs. It's a wonderful herb to use. It's an Ayurvedic herb, and it's been used for many, like thousands of years. Go-to cola is a great herb also. It's good for capillaries and blood flow. And that's why it's good for the brain, but it's also good to prevent varicose veins and those broken capillaries you might see in your skin. So those are all the supplements that are really good. What else can you do? Physical activity. The Faster Way is all over physical activity. In fact, that's how I found the Faster Way, is I wanted a physical activity program that really worked for me. And I just adore it. I think it's the best program I've ever found. And 30 minutes of cardio and strength training 5 times a week is great, not just for your body, but for your brain. So definitely utilize that from the Faster Way. Cognitive activity. Do crossword puzzles, do memory games. There is a wonderful app on my iPhone. I don't know if it's on all phones, but it's called the Mind Games app. And it's a wonderful app. It has progressive games that is great for cognitive function. You're working your mind to learn new things. It's always important to learn new things. Never stop learning. So do that 30 minutes 3 times a week, or 10 minutes 6 times a week. Just do it throughout the week. And that will help also. Stress management. I can't emphasize this enough. Stress is very inflammatory. Your brain, the back of your brain, is your primal center. It does not know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger coming at you and a deadline. So it's going to react the same way, which means that your pupils are going to open really wide to make sure that you can see danger coming at you. Blood flow is going to flow away from your GI system to your muscles, your heart, your lungs, so you can run and fight. And this happens even when you're just stressed out. So your body is primed to run or fight, which is why you get really achy when you're stressed out, because all this builds up lactic acid in your muscles with no place to go, because it's not like you're running or fighting. You're just sitting at a desk. And so we really want to calm our brains down and not have that reaction, that anxiety, that stressful reaction in our brain, so that we can keep in a parasympathetic state instead of a sympathetic state. And that's through meditation, deep breathing, yoga, prayer, walking. All those things are needed. You want to chill at least 20 minutes a day. The earlier you start, the better. Since the process of underlying brain issues like dementia and Alzheimer's disease starts decades before we see it. So start now, do all these things. Don't stress out about it. Take one thing, do what makes sense to you, and do the best you can. The next steps: make an appointment with me if you're interested in any of these things that might help you to evaluate your risk, to take inventory of your current state, to discover lab options and create a plan. Together, we'll allow your body to be brilliant. And I'm Dr. Stacey Francis. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and my website is specificwellness.com. I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. And thank you.